when you guys walk across like your floor here, our lights shut off every time you take a step. There's a crack in the foundation over here that is just getting bigger
and bigger
all the time.
Yeah.
And like the house is literally, I think, falling off the cliff.
When we had first moved in, we had experienced a few different things that the landlord didn't seem to think it was that urgent to take care of. Like when we first moved in, a lot of the light fixtures didn't really work, and he said just change the light bulb and it'll work, stuff like that. They still don't work.
The first 2 weeks we moved in here, the washer broke. And since then, it's been breaking down literally every 2 weeks.
We had a leak when we had, like the first week we moved in, we had a leak from the bathroom that came into the kitchen. And he did fix that, but after we paid rent. He didn't fix it until after we had paid, even though it was like raining in the kitchen. So we had a few problems beforehand that he didn't seem to, unless he had his money for that month's rent, then he didn't want to take care of it. He didn't really think it was that big of an issue. Yeah.
I've got like an email also telling me, oh yeah, I know you got your stimulus check. Can I get? I'm like, wait, now you literally watch my pocket now. And how do you know I even get it?
I noticed when things like weren't being addressed properly, when we had the water, where there was water dripping into our ceiling, and we had like 5 buckets set up downstairs, and we were contacting him and emailing him, and he literally said that it would clear itself up in the spring, basically after the ice melted, and that right there was an instant like, there's something wrong here, and this is not how a property manager should be acting.
Our upstairs bathroom, it started leaking, and it had leaked so bad that it was going into the hallway. The carpet was soaked. We had to wear shoes to like walk upstairs, and then that got so bad, like it would go through our shoes because it was leaking so much. And Don had come over to see it, and he still didn't do anything about it. He had seen how bad it had gotten, and he said, well, you're supposed to pay, like that's when we had started withholding rent, because we were like, if you can't do this, then we're not going to pay for a house that's not keeping us safe.
The most extreme point when I knew that I had to do something was when our ceiling fell out.
Yep.
It was, we have like a drop ceiling, and it was so soaked that the ceiling fell on the floor at 3 a.m. Like, there was just this huge crash, and I was like, oh, that was the ceiling, wasn't it? And it was. And then there was just a bunch of crap on the floor, like insulation and animal droppings.
Yeah.
So that was gross, and then the water was all brown. So eventually we contacted him, and he kept saying, it'll get better with the weather, it'll get better with the weather, and then it wasn't even fixed until a month later. So I contacted other people, and they said, you should really talk to the tenants union. So then here we are. Then I talked to somebody from the tenants union, and we had a discussion about what would be the most powerful thing to do, and I was like, oh, we could write a letter. And so we did end up writing a letter, and in that meeting I said, well, I could also withhold rent, Coda and I. So that was a kind of way that we could kind of escalate the point, and we gave a deadline of when the our demands had to be met, such as forgiving them for withheld rent, and then also additionally for the rest of the lease, we wanted discounts on how much we're paying. So we gave a deadline and said, if you don't agree to these demands, we're going to post something all over social media talking about our horrible experience. And so then eventually we were able to have a phone call with the owner to talk about things.
There was all 4 of us on the phone call, and then it was the owners, and then someone from the Ithaca Tenants union. And we had the first phone call that basically we went through all of our experiences living in the house and like what the problems were, and then we stated that our demands of wanting reduced rent and Lashandra and Will to get rent back from their months that they withhold rent, and then they still had to think about it. So it went on for probably a week of phone calls almost daily, right?
But I definitely think it helped, like, talking with the tenants union. She really helped providing context for the owners, saying, like, what you're doing is illegal, and, like, actually backing it up with facts and laws. It's their responsibility to have a habitable place.
We achieve less rent, basically, like discount on our rent, and also we actually like basically more understanding about renting properties now, and also actually, and I also learned before you move in anywhere, you have to record everything in the house before you move in, and any problem that's going on, you have to have it on video.
There's definitely more stuff going on in their apartment that obviously isn't okay. If they wanted to take action, like, I would stand with them and try to help out.
I would just say, if anybody watching this video, if you're gonna get a house from the Don Edwards, make sure you bring your HD camera and record everything in the house before you move it.
And if you have a problem, make sure it's like in a letter or an email, like have proof that you contacted him about
Document
it.
everything.
Because there were some things that we had talked to Don about, but we never like emailed him or anything, and so when we were talking to the owners, they're like, well, did you tell him? He never sent us an email, so did you really tell him? Did he really know? And so they tried to like get us on stuff like that.
Yeah, that's every time I would like bring something up to Don, he would always try to call me, and I never spoke to Don on the phone. I would always make sure I emailed everything, just because I knew he always seemed sketchy, and I knew if it wasn't recorded, it didn't happen.
There's definitely power in like people. Like the more people that we had together, the more effective it was. I think if it had just been Rebecca and Coda, or just me and Will, we wouldn't have gotten anything. We wouldn't have gotten anywhere. So I definitely like, don't be afraid to check your really bad landlords. Because there are things that they think you don't know that they can get away with. So, yeah.